What up, everybody? This is your boy Dedrian Colon from House of Wrestling, and this is my review for the May 14th pay-per-view New Japan Pro Wrestling Capital Collision. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Follow House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. This pay-per-view, I gotta say, another stellar pay-per-view from New Japan Pro Wrestling. I enjoyed it. The first three matches, I was nothing against New Japan Pro Wrestling, but I was taking care of some work for a client of mine, and so my attention was kind of split. But those matches, if you guys have always listened and watched my reviews, I've always said that one way that you can tell a match is really good is if, let's say, you're in the room, like all the way, like a room all the way, in the back or something like that, or good distance from the TV, and you're listening to it and you're like, man, let me go check this out. And that's what I experienced in the first three matches. I was able to catch the finish and everything, so good thing for that. But man, this was a good show. I'm really looking forward to what's going to take place and transpire at Forbidden Door on June 26th. I wouldn't say this was a little peak. Actually, I would say it's like a little peak of what we might see at Forbidden Door. The whole Bullet Club is a very interesting angle right now. You don't know where or what's going to happen, but you're really intrigued. So I'm looking forward to it, like I said. But man, this pay-per-view, the crowd was hot and everything. I know many of you, it's Saturday, the weather's warm wherever you are in the country or overseas. The weather's pretty good. This was one of those pay-per-views, like if you weren't doing anything and you just wanted to chill, sit under the fan or the AC, like this was one of those events to just watch and like watch some good professional wrestling. Man, but the first match, it started off with Fredericks versus Ren Narita. Solid opening match. I can tell you from experience going to Windy City Riot, usually from that event, the opening match was really solid. And this match, Fredericks versus Ren Narita, was a really solid match. It wasn't anything like we normally see that's just trying to get the crowd like really into it and just, oh my god, this is crazy. No, this was a solid match just to get the crowd into it and everything. Where it's just like, okay, this is hard hitting, a lot of forearms, and that's something that I noticed throughout this whole pay-per-view. And I would say it's kind of a trope in New Japan, and I think they're doing it a little bit too much, and that's the forearm strikes and the chops to the chest, where they match up and they're just chopping and everything, kind of excessive, to the point where it's just like, okay, it's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, I like it when Suzuki or Tomohiro Ishii do it, but when it's like kind of going throughout the whole pay-per-view, it's kind of like, or the show, it's just like, all right, I'll get it. But man, this first match was really solid. Fredericks, he did the Manifest Destiny 1, 2, 3. He wins. And what was interesting about this match was the post match, because you had the Factory, QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, and Aaron Solo attack Fredericks. So that was very interesting. And again, QT Marshall's like, hey, you guys need us on this show, and so on and so on. So I figure, now thinking about it, we might have a Fredericks versus QT Marshall match on Forbidden Door. I wouldn't be surprised, because this is already the second pay-per-view that New Japan has had in the States where QT Marshall and the Factory have been at. So something to keep your eye on. So I wouldn't be surprised again if we have Carl Fredericks versus QT Marshall at Forbidden Door. The next match was JR Kratos, Danny Limelight, Tommy Lawlor, and the West Coast Wrecking Crew. Basically, it was a 5-man or 10-man tag. Then you had DCK, Rocky Romero, David Finlay, Tonga Loa, and Yua Uemura. And that was, I enjoy the 10-man tags that Tom Lawlor's in, especially with JR Kratos and Danny Limelight. They have such great chemistry, and they don't overdo anything as far as, a lot of the power man spots and a lot of the over the top moves or anything like that. It's a nice balance, and it's a nice give and take where if you're watching it and you're rooting for Tonga Loa and Rocky Romero and those guys, you're just like, oh man, okay, this is cool. And it's a nice back and forth where you're just like, okay, you're getting it in. All right, this is cool. It was interesting to see Tonga Loa, one, without his brother, and two, not in Bullet Club. This was actually my first time seeing him not in Bullet Club. I've seen, of course, clips of it online, but to watch a New Japan show where Tonga Loa is not in Bullet Club, I still got to get used to it. But later on, there's something else that Tonga Loa was involved in. But man, this was a really solid match. Danny Limelight wound up doing the Tornado DDT, getting the victory. So Tom Lawlor's group, they won the match. Then you had a post-match thing where they were one cool spot. It wasn't post-match, but one cool spot was they had David Finlay on the ground, and all the members of Tom Lawlor's group stood and took a picture while David Finlay just like that. I thought that was pretty funny and interesting. I'm like, man, these guys are really healing it and everything. But again, this match, like I said, throughout the whole card, you had a lot of forearm spots. I'm noticing that a lot with New Japan, where they just have that forearm spot. Now, mind you, I didn't mind this spot with Tonga Loa and JR Kratos, but it is something that just it's happening more and more and more on New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I really like that. That was really cool. Then the next match we had the Great O'Khan versus Chase Owens, first member of Bullet Club on the show. This was if you're not familiar with Great O'Khan, please Google him. Please Google him. He has a very unique look. Me personally, I love his look because it has this mystique, larger than life look where you're just like, man, this guy, he's a badass. I know he's beating the hell out of people. This match, Great O'Khan versus Chase Owens. Of course, Great O'Khan is, power and just, manhandling people, and Chase Owens is more technique and somewhat speed. So you did have that dichotomy, which I absolutely love New Japan when they do this, because it's a good balance. It's not overkill. It's, the smaller, quicker, more technical guy gets his stuff in. The power guy counters it and reverses it. And the reversals throughout this whole show were, man, I recommend you guys, again, watch this pay-per-view. There was a lot of cool reversals on this show that you're just like, whoa, this is dope. There was a point in the match where Great O'Khan, I'm going to try my best to explain it, but please watch this match because I never seen anything like this, but this was really cool. So Great O'Khan, so Chase Owens is Great O'Khan throws Chase Owens into the turnbuckle, and he throws him face first. So Chase Owens is over the turnbuckle like this, as I'm looking at you guys in the camera and everything. And Great O'Khan gets on the second rope, and he just starts sitting on Chase Owens. He just sits up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And I'm like, I've never seen a move like that. Like, that is so interesting and cool. And he was smiling and laughing and everything. But in the end, Chase Owens got a roll up with his legs on the rope. Typical Bullet Club fashion. Jay White did it, and a lot of Bullet Club members did it. So, but Chase Owens gets the victory with that roll up and his legs on the rope. Like I mentioned before in my other reviews, where Bullet Club have been on events, whether it's Impact, and even AEW, like Bullet Club was kind of losing a lot of matches lately, and it's like, what's really going on here? Like, it's one thing that they lose a match, but losing matches, plural, it's like, all right, what's really going, like, what's the end game? Where is this leading to? So I'm really, was really interested, and I'm still interested where this is going to head. Then we get the 8-man tag. I had to count because that's the one thing about New Japan. On their cards, you will have a 10-man tag and an 8-man tag on their card. And usually, I know at Windy City Riot, they had, I think, 2 8-man tag matches and 1 10-man tag. So it can get really congested with these matches and everything. Not in order, but just memorize, like, okay, wait a minute, this was a 10, 8, 10. And it's, trust me, when you review this stuff and you watch it, it's a challenge. But man, you had Jonah with Mikey Nicholas, Shane Haste, and Bad Dude Tito versus Jeff Cobb, the Aussie Open, and Aaron Hine. How do I say this? The best part of this match, I don't want to say the best part, my favorite part of this match. Everyone, of course, in these 8-man tag and 10-man tags, everybody's either outside the ropes or inside the ropes. They're just beating each other, getting their moves in and everything. In this match, there was a spot where everybody was beating up, and Jeff Cobb threw his guy out, and Jonah threw his guy out. And you had this face-off between Jonah and Jeff Cobb. I was like, oh man, oh my, oh, the crowd loved it too. I can't remember if or when they faced each other, but man, I would love to see that match. If you haven't seen Jeff Cobb's stuff, Google him, watch him. His stuff is freaking amazing. One of my favorite matches is from last year's Wrestle Kingdom, where he faced, I believe it was Shingo Takagi. I believe that was him. Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom last year. Whew, man, such a beautiful match. And of course, Jonah, formerly known as Bronson Reed in NXT. He's had great matches. I believe, man, what was the last match? I believe it was the match he had against Tomohiro Ishii in Impact. I can't remember the pay-per-view or their special event or was. But man, that was another great match. So you have this face-off between these guys, and boy, oh boy, forearms and headbutts and punches. Man, oh man. And there was a point where Jeff Cobb lifted Jonah up. Like, he had him up and then dropped him. I was like, man, that is a strong freaking dude, man. That was a great point of the match. There was a double clothesline. Then there was a spear that Jonah did on Jeff Cobb, which I thought was freaking amazing. Then all of them started fighting again outside the ring. There was a bunch of double team moves. And then in the end, Mikey Nicholas pinned Fletcher of Aussie Open, and Jonah's team wins. And yeah, that Jonah Jeff Cobb face off, man, that was a thing of beauty. I'm not gonna say it was like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate War facing off in the Royal Rumble, but man, there's something special there. I know this day and age, it's rare that you get these matchups where you have guys that are similar and then they face each other. I would say back in the day, like when Sting and Great Muta would face each other, you had guys who were similar in different companies and they face each other. Jeff Cobb and Jonah, like just that interesting, like they're the same, but yet they're different. And just that, like, I really hope that New Japan has a match between those guys because that is going to be a special match. I wouldn't be surprised if whatever event they have it at, it's going to be in the realm of match of the night because those guys can go and they put on some solid matches. But that was a really good 8-man tag match. And what I can tell you is from this point on, like the first 3 matches were not bad, but you know, just getting the crowd warmed up and everything. But once this match happened, Jonah's team versus Jeff Cobb's team or the United Empire, I should say, once you had that face-off from Jonah and Jeff Cobb, that's when this whole event and this whole show just went into another gear, and it did not slow down, and it just rolled. Kudos to New Japan for doing that, because man, this was a good. This was from this point on, this show just rolled. The next match we had was Brody King versus Minoru Suzuki. This was good. This was good. Of course, with this match, like I said before, you know, the chest chops and everything, I don't mind it in this match because it's Minoru Suzuki's thing. It is what he does. I just wish that, like I said, I wish New Japan would tone it down with the other matches. If it isn't Suzuki or Ishii, like, I think you give, if Tomohiro Ishii and Suzuki aren't on the card, okay, you could let other guys, you know, do it and stuff like that. But when you have Ishii and Suzuki on the card, you know, they do the chops to the chest and then other people do it, then it's just like, okay, man, that's kind of like, it's like I've seen this move here and I see it's like, okay, this is a New Japan thing, and it's, you know, maybe it's just me, like, just wanting to see something different during those times when they normally do the chops. Like, focus on a body part, like hit a knee, work a, you know, the abdomen area, you know, a hip, a shoulder, like work a body part or something. It's just, for me, it just comes across very excessive. But man, Brody King and Minoru Suzuki, man, they laid it in. One thing I do wish, I wish this match went a little bit longer. I do feel like this match went kind of short because you got Brody King, who's a big dude, and you got Minoru Suzuki, who's that, you know, stone wall, like, veteran that, yeah, I don't care if you're 300 pounds or so, I'm still going to beat the hell out of you, and you're not going to do anything about it. But man, this was a solid match. There were some nice headlocks and arm counters from Minoru Suzuki and Brody King, and trust me, watch this match, you'll get what I'm saying. But that's one thing I do like about this show, is that there was a lot of, like I said before, there was a lot of smooth, cool counters. And in this match specifically, they did a lot of arm counters. Basically, it made sense because Brody King is, 6'4", and Minoru Suzuki is about 5'11", 6 foot or so. So he has to get some type of advantage over this big dude. And it made sense. I really like that. You know, just the little things, attention to detail. But in the end, you had Brody King perform his Gonzo Bomb. 1, 2, 3. He wins. You know, he's celebrating and everything. And then in the post-match, you had Minoru Suzuki pile drive the ref. That was funny. I like this match. Once this match happened, then it just kept on that pacing, and just that that second gear. Like, it just kept on just going and going and going. I love this match here. And then after this match, you had Tomohiro Ishii versus Eddie Kingston. It's crazy, but like, they're very similar. When I was watching this match, I'm just like, man, Eddie Kingston's like the Tomohiro Ishii of like AEW almost. Like, they're almost identical. Like, it's like, man, this is very similar. Kind of like I mentioned with Jeff Cobb and Jonah. Like, they're different, but they're kind of similar. But man, this was a really, really good match. One thing that stood out for me in this match, one of many things, but attention to detail. Eddie Kingston came out with bandages over his eyes and everything, selling the fireball that was thrown in his eye on Dynamite, was it 2-3 weeks ago, from Chris Jericho. I like that attention to detail. They talked about it on commentary a little bit, but I love that attention to detail. Granted, he's not in AEW or anything, but keep the continuity where the small reference that the commentary team mentions, it's like, oh man, Jericho threw a fireball? Oh man, you go on I've been telling people for a while, ever since they had this whole Forbidden Door and last year and everything. I do hope that New Japan, AEW, Impact, they really get more sophisticated with their cross promotion matches, because I mean, they can literally tap into a Marvel Cinematic Universe type of storytelling between all these promotions, and they have the talent to pull it off. I just hope and wish that they do it. But man, this was Eddie Kingston, and Tomohiro Ishii. Forgive me, guys. There's a lot of chops. There was one point in this match, and I really like this, where they stood toe to toe, and it started off with a smack to Eddie Kingston. Then Tomohiro Ishii smacked. They're smacking each other just once. Then it's double smacks. Then it's 3 smacks, and then they just start smacking each other. And I'm watching. I'm like, man, how the hell can you take these smacks? Like, fucking smacking like hard, like really hard. But man, that was a cool spot, and the crowd was in it. They loved it. Eventually, in the end, Tomohiro Ishii performed the vertical drop brainbuster. 1, 2, 3. He pins Eddie Kingston. He looks over at Eddie Kingston after he pins him, says something to him, and then walks away. This was a solid match. Of course, Eddie Kingston called out Tomohiro Ishii at Windy City Riot. So that was a solid match. It was fun. If you like hard-hitting matches, if you're a fan of Eddie Kingston and you love his just that grueling, that just feisty, gritty wrestling style and Tomohiro Ishii style, man, you're gonna love this match when you watch it, because man, this was a good one. So then, after this, we get a surprise. Lio Rush, yes, Lio Rush, formerly in AEW a few months ago, and of course he's been in New Japan for the last year or so and everything. He shows up and he says it feels good to be home. He makes reference to the junior super heavyweight tournament that they're having now. Of course, Willa Yuta from AEW and Ace Austin from Impact Wrestling are in this tournament. He says things will change, and he calls out Robbie Eagles, Ishimori, and Takahashi. So let's see what happens. He says he's not cleared to wrestle yet, so I don't know. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if he shows up at the Forbidden Door. This is going to be interesting, because we do have Double or Nothing this month, but then next month is Forbidden Door. So there's a lot of unexpected, crazy, surprising things that may transpire in the next month or so before we get to Forbidden Door. I'm excited. I got tickets, so I'm good. Then we have, after this, we have Jay White and Hikuleo versus Okada and Rocky Romero. And of course, it was announced that Trent Beretta tested positive for COVID. Hopefully, man, get well soon, speedy recovery and everything. Hopefully it's not severe or anything like that. So that is the reason why Rocky Romero was in this match. Jay White and Hikuleo. It's interesting how this team is because, of course, Hikuleo is the younger brother of Tama Tonga and Tangaloa. So he's still with Bullet Club. How that plays out, like, if you guys been watching my reviews, you know that I've been saying something is going to happen with Bullet Club because there's a lot of weird things that's happening. They've lost a lot of matches, and there's just something is just there. I don't know what it is, but something's there that's going to happen soon. Maybe it's Forbidden Door, but something huge is going to happen. But man, this was a fun match. I like this. I enjoy Kazuchika Okada. I know a lot of people who aren't familiar with his work or haven't seen, like, oh, what's the big deal? Why is he this? Why is he that? When you watch a Kazuchika Okada match, you will understand why this guy is one of the top, if not the top wrestler in New Japan Pro Wrestling and in the world. Man, the guy can wrestle. He has that presentation and everything, man. This was a dope match. You had Jay White basically saying, I run this place, to both Kazuchika Okada and Rocky Romero. What was cool about this match is you had Okada and Jay White start the match off. And of course, there's a callback to their match at Wrestle Kingdom. What was that? I think it was last year? Year before? I know they had a few matches, so the crowd ate it up. You know, Jay White and Okada, if you haven't seen those matches, Google it. And if you don't Google it, or you can't find it on Google, get New Japan World, because it's on there, and that is a badass app. A lot of stuff on there. So yeah, you had that. Then you had Hikuleo and Rocky Romero. There was a cool DDT counter by Rocky Romero on Hikuleo that was Tornado DDT. That was really smooth and fluid. One thing I do want to say, man, before I continue with this review of this match, shout out to Hikuleo, man. This guy has grown as a professional wrestler in a short amount of time. It shouldn't be surprising considering who his dad is and his brothers are. But man, he is developing his own identity, if he hasn't already, and he's just adding on to his own identity. And man, he's grown. I just had to mention that. So you had the Tornado DDT counter by Rocky Romero. There was a cool Okada. It was a neck breaker, but the way he did the neck breaker was just so damn, like, huh? What? Like, how? Trust me, you see that neck breaker, you're gonna see why. It's one of the reasons why he's one of the, if not the best wrestler in the world. Then you had Rocky Romero do a DDT on Jay White. You had a bunch of near pinfalls towards the end, and of course, this is something that you do see in a lot of Okada and Jay White matches. This is something I don't have a problem with, because the way New Japan does their near pinfalls, it's so damn, you're on the edge, like, oh man, okay, that's the match. Oh man, what? And they just build on it and build on it and build on it. And of course, Jay White was able to get the Blade Runner in. 1, 2, 3. Jay White and Hikuleo win. Then after the match, Jay White and Hikuleo attack Okada. And this is where things get interesting. you have Tangaloa as Jay White and Hikuleo have the New Japan title over Okada. You have Tangaloa come out. Jay White leaves. And you have Tangaloa facing his younger brother. Just a face off. And he's looking, and his younger brother's throwing up the Bullet Club sign. And Tangaloa's like, hey, you know we're brothers, right? You know we're brothers. And he puts his fist out. And Hikuleo, he looks at him. He walks back with a smirk. And then he steps over. And Jay White and Hikuleo are throwing up the sign and everything. That right there, like I've always been saying, something's going to happen with Jay White. I do believe there's going to be a new leader of Bullet Club, and I do think there is a freaking swerve that's going to transpire that I do believe the entire Bullet Club is going to kick Jay White out. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think it is. That whole interaction between Tangaloa and Hikuleo was just like, Or what could happen is Jay White kick out Hikuleo and he's with his brothers. But there's just something there that's, don't know, something's there with the Bullet Club. But that was really cool. Then you get the main event. Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, Will Ospreay, Jon Moxley. I will say this was probably one of, if not the best Fatal 4-Way matches I've seen this year so far. Just the different styles and contrast. You got Moxley, you got Juice Robinson, Will Ospreay, and Tanahashi. And shout out to Juice Robinson. I know many of you like, oh, wait a minute, this is Finn Juice, this guy? I can't remember what his name was in NXT, but man, this is a different Juice Robinson. Like, this is a Juice Robinson that's got an attitude. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He is feisty. His delivery on the mic is very punctual. And by very punctual, he's getting to the point and he is making a statement. I like it. This is something new. So, like I said, let's see where this goes with Bullet Club. But there's very interesting. So, in this match, and I'm looking at my notes to make sure I got everything on here. It started off, everybody was in the ring. They were just beating the hell out of each other in the ring, outside the ring, going up to the stage. There was a cool spot where everybody, Moxley was, I believe he was fighting with Juice Robinson, and Tanahashi was fighting with Ospreay. So they clear them out. Tanahashi's in the ring, and you have Moxley look at Tanahashi, and he's like, okay. And of course, Jon Moxley called out Tanahashi at Windy City Riot. So you're in the ring. You got Tanahashi and Moxley in the ring, and they're just going to blows. It's like, ooh, boy, this is sweet. This is good. Some good stuff. Then you had this point, after that point, there is a spot where I don't know what happened with the New Japan Pro Wrestling camera crew or something like that. They missed a spot that Ospreay did, and the crowd reacted to it, and the camera did not cut. Like, you see the crowd, oh, and you didn't sit, like, no replay or nothing. Like, it's like, what the hell? Like, what happened? So that was one thing I just really didn't care too much for. You had a spinning backbreaker by Ospreay on Moxley. You had a springboard that Ospreay was attempting to do, and as he tried to do the springboard cutter, freaking Juice Robinson hit him with a chair and just laid him out. Like, bam! It was like, oh, it's like, okay, Juice Robinson is on another level, and he's getting that Bullet Club edge and that feistiness in him. Then you had a suplex on the chair that Juice Robinson did on Jon Moxley. You had a double DDT that Jon Moxley did on Ospreay and Juice Robinson. By this point, Jon Moxley's busted open. Like, he's just bleeding. Juice hit Tanahashi with the belt while Moxley had him in a sharpshooter. Then you had everybody throwing each other out the ring. Again, they were just mayhem. I did love the drop kick that Moxley did on Juice Robinson on the apron, that was crazy. Then you had Tanahashi do a frog splash on Moxley on a table outside the ring from the top turnbuckle. Yes, Tanahashi was on the top turnbuckle and did a frog splash on Moxley through a table. Please see that. That was insane. Of course, it's the New Japan tables and everything. It was, when it happened, I was like, oh, because it was so late in the match. And of course, you're getting to the point where now everybody's weathered and everything. So guys are trying to get pinfalls and everything. And I was like, man, okay, Moxley just took this frog splash on Tanahashi. Wait a minute, what's up with Juice Robinson with Ospreay? So it was like, oh man, and Juice Robinson tried to get a pinfall, didn't get it. Then, as this happened, like I said, Moxley took the frog splash from Tanahashi. Juice tried to get a pin, didn't. Ospreay tried to get his offense in. Eventually, Ospreay was trying to fight Tanahashi. Juice Robinson, low blow, does his reverse Death Valley bomb. 1, 2, 3. Juice Robinson is the new IWGP United States champion. There's that. Afterwards, Juice Robinson gets on the mic. He's like, can't nobody beat me. I beat all of them at the same time, referring to Moxley, Tanahashi, and Ospreay. That's where the show closes. Of course, Moxley says something afterwards that, thank you guys. That is the show. My final thoughts on this show. It was dope. I liked it. I loved the face-off between Jeff Cobb and Jonah. I love the face-off between Tangaloa and Hikuleo. That whole dynamic of, okay, your brothers, are you going to fight? You know, where's Hikuleo's allegiance to his brothers or the Bullet Club? And, you know, is Jay White trying to rub it in on the Tangaloa and Tamatanga that, hey, I got your younger brother and he's doing, you know, he's going to be doing more than you guys. That whole thing. But, man, this was a solid show. I would say the only thing that was somewhat of a foreshadowing of a few things that's like a foreshadowing of what could happen at the Forbidden Door. The Carl Fredericks factory with QT Marshall angle, maybe a run back of Eddie Kingston and Tomohiro Ishii, maybe Tangaloa and Hikuleo. That whole issue might go into Forbidden Door. Juice Robinson and Jon Moxley at the Forbidden Door. So there's so many questions as far as what's going to, you know, lead into the Forbidden Door with AEW and New Japan. But overall, man, this was a really good show. Another stellar show. Again, man, that Fatal 4-Way, man. That's probably one of the best Fatal 4-Way matches I've seen this year so far. But kudos to them. And yes, Juice Robinson is the new IWGP United States champion. So that is my review for the May 14th pay-per-view New Japan Pro Wrestling Capital Collision. Like, share, comment, subscribe, follow House of Wrestling on all social media platforms. Follow me, Dedrian180, on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. And like I always say, this is pro wrestling. There's so much going on. Enjoy it, man. Look what's happening in the world. Let wrestling be an escape for you, all right? Just, there's so much wrestling, man, and it's so cool and it's so fun. Just enjoy it, man, all right? With that,